Read bits. What is the strangest thing that happened to you that you can't logically explain? In 1996, I had just dropped out of university and was moving home to my parents' place. My tail was firmly between my legs. I had almost no money and no job prospects. Basically, I was screwed. I had an old Jeep Comanche with all my belongings in the back and 200 miles to go. I borrowed $20 from a friend for gas and started the trip. I got to a point that was 30 miles from home and was on empty. I pulled into a gas station/rest stop and sort of cried for a minute in my truck. I needed $5 for gas to make it the rest of the way and had nothing. There was no way I could call my dad and ask for help. He was already so disappointed. After a minute, I started searching around my truck for change. Anything. I opened the glove box and there were these paper loyalty bucks for a gas station that I never used. It turns out it was the exact gas station that I was stopped at. $4.70 worth of bucks. I found another $200 and change, put $600 in the gas tank, and bought a Coke. I made it home. Fast forward 20 years, I had sorted my crap out and am a lawyer. That gas station hired me as their outside counsel. I got to tell the story to the president of the company. Serendipity of life will never cease to amaze. As a child visiting my grandma's house, my mom's mum, whenever I left the house, I'd wave next door to Ken, who was always sat in the bay window looking out at the sea. They lived right on the coast off the North Sea in Hartlepool, UK. We'd never really talk, but just a little wave before I went to get into the car. One time I'm leaving my grand's house, I'm in front of my mum, who stopped at the door to talk to my gran. So I head down the steps and towards the gate. I turn back and see Ken in the window. Big smile as usual, waving at me. I give him a wave back. He stands up, gives me the thumbs up, and wanders towards the back of the room. My mum comes walking down the steps and asks, "Who are you waving at?" I replied, "Ken." To this day, I can remember my mom's face. She just went white but didn't say anything to me. It was only a few weeks later when she plucked up the courage to tell me that Ken had died a few days prior to our visit to my grand's. I don't believe in ghosts, but I know I saw him. I can still picture his striped gray sweater with light stripes across it, him waving and getting up out of his chair. There was no one else in the house. He lived by himself. Brains are weird. Update 1. Sorry for the delay in getting back, but I had an update from my mom regarding me seeing Ken. I reminded her of the incident and what she can remember of it. I got this reply: "I'm sure you saw him too. I know there's someone in our house." Ashley, mom's cat, sees them on the stairs the same time every night if we are in the lounge. I always say hello. Definitely doesn't feel like a threatening presence though. So now it turns out there's not just Ken next door, there's someone in my mam's house. Maybe it's my gran. Once COVID is over, I'll have to stay over a few nights to see for myself. I 100% believe you. My cousin's daughter, 4 years old maybe, says she talks to our dead grandpa all the time. One time my cousin caught her singing along to my grandpa's favorite song. Giggling and running around the room, she asked her what she was doing, and she said, "I'm playing with Tata and he's teaching me a song." She got so spooked because there's no way her daughter could have heard it anywhere, as my cousin doesn't like to listen to it, because the song reminds her of him and it makes her sad. It's also an old tango that you have to actively search on the internet to find. There are other things about her kid that are straight up weird, and everyone is convinced she's a medium or something. When I was about 12 years old, I went up to Lake Tahoe with my friend and his parents, who had a condo in Incline Village. One day, the two of us are meow-walking to the bowling alley and cross a street in a crosswalk. Right before we get to the curb, a car comes really close to hitting us. All of a sudden, we're both up on the curb, like we were lifted a few feet. We both looked at each other strangely. "Did you jump?" "No." "Did you?" "No." We spent the next hour kind of dumbfounded. It didn't feel like a shove or any use of force. We were still in the street, then we weren't. Grim Reaper was like, "Oh shit, wrong guys." When I was 10 years old, I didn't want to go to school one day. I faked a stomach ache so my grandmother would let me stay home. I've always been a bad liar, so my GMA tried to call my bluff. She told me if I was too sick for school, then she would be scheduling me a doctor's appointment. 3 hours later, I was rushed into emergency surgery. My fake illness was actually appendicitis, and it was so inflamed that if I hadn't come in that day, my appendix would have ruptured, potentially killing me. I felt 100% fine that day. Faking sick saved my life. Apparently, a feeling of dread is a common symptom of things like organ failure and life-threatening illness. Maybe your lack of interest in going to school was from that. Once, my mom and I were driving to Las Vegas from Santa Clarita. We were just passing Barstow and on the I-15. It was right about high noon and very hot. Not a cloud in the sky. She had a fancy Lexus at the time with a touchscreen console on the dash that could play DVDs while driving. I remember we were on a long stretch of road with a lot of space between cars on the highway, and one minute we see nothing ahead of us, and then all of a sudden, a woman was walking across the highway right in front of our vehicle. My mom swerved behind her and barely missed her. She pulled off to the shoulder and we look behind us, and we see her go all the way across the highway, including westbound traffic. Then she turned around and walked all the way across again, each time nearly getting clipped by an unsuspecting and oncoming car like ourselves. At one point, a semi-truck almost hit her head on missing her by literally one step. Each step she took was a steady and confident step, looking ahead of her and never batting an eye to any oncoming traffic. She was barefoot, mind you, and walking on the boiling asphalt with zero sense of urgency. So my mom calls 911. We're directed to Highway Patrol. They say they've received numerous reports and they're headed out to it. My mom decided after hanging up to slowly reverse down the shoulder to get a better look and see if she's okay. Yes, I know, stupid in more than one way. As we get to a spot behind her now, she's crossed the highway and is now in front of our vehicle. This part I will never forget. The woman slowly turns her head and looks at us and is now slowly but steadily walking towards our car. She was white as day in every way. White nightgown, pale, dry, wrinkled skin, white hair, and the palest bluish-gray eyes I've ever seen, and barefoot. Almost looked like a Walking Dead version of Rose Dawson from Titanic. I was in the passenger seat, which was on the shoulder. When my mom made eye contact, she froze. Absolutely shut down. I remember the woman walking so close to my door I could see her eyes make contact with mine. It looked as if she was blind and lifeless, but could not just see me, but see into and through me, like into my soul. I went cold immediately. She reached for my door handle, and I remember screaming at my mom to punch the gas, and without hesitation, she came to quick, and we peeled out of there. In the back window, I saw her watch us speed off and then continue to cross the road again. A mile down the highway, we called Highway Patrol to see what happened, and they didn't have a clue what we were talking about and said they got no reports of a woman crossing the highway. My mom to this day still doesn't remember the time between when we reversed to when we dipped out. I have no idea what happened that day except for what I witnessed and experienced. This happens in a stretch in a desert highway in Mexico, only during the hottest days of summer in the Desert of the Lions, about 2 or 3 hours south of Arizona. The federales call her the Old White Lady. Apparently, she has caused many accidents and deaths due to people trying to avoid her. So the Highway Patrol increases police presence in that area during those days to ensure people drive a little slower or to assist them after they crash because of her. 100% true story. I'm a firefighter, and we got a call for an overdose around 3 a.m. to a rough part of our district in the middle of winter. Unfortunately, the patient was long gone, and her dealer or whatever found her like that when he dropped some stuff. As we were packing up our stuff, mind you, this is an absolutely trashed mobile home, I hear something down the hall that said, "Lights?" I asked my partner if he said anything, as it was just him and I cleaning up. He said no. I walked to the far end of the trailer where I heard it and shine my flashlight. I get a reflection out of the window. They have a small tool shed and it had a flickering light. It piqued my interest, so my partner and I go out there. We hear crying and notice the doors padlocked. We cut it, and this little 6-year-old girl was in there. She said her mom puts her in there when she gets mad at her. She said she got scared when she heard the sirens and didn't know what to do. To this day, I have no idea what happened or where the voice came from, but I'll take the win on it. Edit. A couple people wondering about what happened after. My partner and I took her to the children's hospital closest to us, and we wrote our report and ate chips and a sandwich we took from the lounge while they called a social worker. She was a really sweet girl. The voice was not a little girl's voice. I 100% thought it was my partner since it sounded like a guy. Edit 2. Sorry for using peaked. I was between calls at work pretty early in the morning, and grammar is not a defining character of mine. Thanks for reading. Hug your kiddos a little tighter tonight. And that's it. Thanks for watching. And what was the strangest thing in your life but you can't explain it? Write in the comments.